Hey guys, Robert and Ingrid here, and we're reminiscing of one of our favorites. Not the favorites, of course, but one of our favorites, King Kong and kaiju movies, King Kong versus Godzilla, or what, Godzilla versus King Kong. Keep on
Hmm.
mixing it up. But either way, though, I mean, neither of us have rewatched it, but we still remember enough about it that we enjoyed this movie. And
Oh yes,
Toho,
it was definitely a clear spectacle fest, and a spectacle fest that was kind of the first of its kind in the crossover department.
and it was a satire. There was a lot of satire elements to it, but it's Hondo, directing it. Toshiro
Hmm.
Hondo directing it. So he was still going to take some things seriously, but also knew where to mock it, like the whole "I'm sick of Godzilla," things like that.
Hmm.
But so there's okay. We're going to focus on Kong more than Godzilla in this video.
Yeah,
Kong,
since you've already heard us talk a whole ton about Godzilla before.
yes, but Kong, focusing just on Kong. They had to beef him up, obviously. Kong might have been huge for a kaiju size compared to normal humans in his movie, but
But you need
compared to
something to equalize the whole nuclear advantage that
yeah,
Godzilla has, because that would just not be fair in any other
not
context.
at all. But they like their way, the berries and everything, and yes, you have the natives, but at least the natives serve more of a purpose here. The
Hmm.
song, the song is
Yes,
what
the
helped control
song, the song.
that whole bit. It comes to play later. Kong is smart, but again, I still don't like how they keep on claiming he's smarter than Godzilla. I say they're on par.
Yeah, no, that part just didn't come off as
In fact,
well.
Kong kept coming. I gotta say this: as smart as Kong is, he comes off like an idiot
Hmm.
compared to Godzilla throughout this. Would you agree with that? He kept bumbling around and everything, but I did like the fight with the octopus.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
Yep, and then of course they knock him out with the gas, and then they balloon him like, "Ooh," which we would get a note of in the MonsterVerse version,
Oh yeah.
but we'll get to that. And then of course the big fight. This
Hmm.
was a fight like this was the first. Okay, this wasn't the first monster match. That would have been, of course, Frankenstein versus Wolfman, but this took the monster match to the next level, logical level. The kaiju
Yeah.
fights. Now, again, we
Hmm.
already had kaiju fights before, but not to this caliber.
Hmm.
Not to this level of having Godzilla versus Kong. Now, granted, they had to beef up Kong by giving him electrical powers and everything, but I think it worked. And by the end, the fact that Kong won,
Hmm.
you could call bullshit by saying Godzilla could just pull him underwater, but no. In Japan, they said Kong won.
Hmm.
And I think that made sense in this case because let's be honest, Kong was the most popular one at the time. Godzilla failed twice
Hmm. That is
beforehand.
perfectly
They brought
fair.
him they brought him back for this movie. But it makes sense. But Kong was adored by this point. Now, granted, unfortunately, Kong's notoriety would then plummet with almost lack of nothing else coming out except for, well, another movie we'll get to until the 70s. So, whereas Godzilla would keep going. So, I could definitely see why there was the switch over after this movie.
Hmm.
But again, your opinion? I've been doing most of the talking.
It was something that was just really fun, and it's just, as I sort of said before, it's kind of interesting to see stuff we kind of assume is a more modern thing, but is actually a little bit older than we thought. And it's like, hey, that makes coming back to this old stuff feeling, well, when it does do something well, it's really refreshing in a way that's kind of different because it's something that you weren't really expecting. Like, hey, this is a pleasant surprise. I still remember the set piece when they're fighting between that big, like,
The pagoda.
that that big pagoda, and it's
Yeah.
just like, are they gonna smash it? Are they gonna smash it?
Yep.
Yes, they
Yeah.
smashed it. They smashed the
Then
set
you have that
piece.
bit
I'm
where Godzilla
satisfied.
You have Godzilla grabbing the tree, shoving it down his throat, or you have that
Yeah,
one bit where it looks like they're puppets in the background. You remember they're like
yeah.
there's weird stuff like that, and I don't know if that was a bit where that wasn't the movie where Godzilla does like that. Oh yeah, it is where Godzilla there's that stop motion drop kick.
Oh yeah.
Boom! That was the only bit of stop motion that was done intentionally as a nod to Kong.
Mm-hmm.
You have moments like that were great. Like I said, the octopus fight and everything, and just so much of this felt like it set a good high standard. And again, it gave Kong the stuff that we needed. And what does it say that in Japan they respected Kong, and it showed.
Mm-hmm.
They respected both of them.
Yeah, and it's sort of been heartwarming to see in the wake of everything that there's been this healthy intercultural exchange between Japanese and America, and this movie is very much a symbol of that because, hey, it's sort of titans from both of their things coming and clashing, and it's just been continuing to do that ever since. It's like you have people getting bad tattoos of the other language that don't mean what they think they do on both sides of the Atlantic.
Right. Well, and this would not be the last time that Toho would do something with King Kong. They would have the right for another movie, which we'll go over next, with King Kong Escapes. We'll see you guys then.